Hi there, parents of cognitively disability students in school. There's something about a school program that practices coping skills that I need to point out to you. If you accept an offer to one of those and don't realize how wrong you're going to be treated in one slack, you end up wasting all of your time and you can never get it back. If somebody cheated you from buying something through the courts, you can get your money back, but time is something you can never get back. First of all, no extended length of time in public schooling can make it possible to learn any faster or make up for the abilities that you're required to have that are genetic. The truth is, those abilities are genetic if it takes going against nature's main function of you have to do right in order to expect other people to do right. It's also true if an ability hasn't been able to work for somebody after 100 trials and failures. It's genetic. Social skills need to be learned, but each issue has a different antidote to it. Nobody there really knows what antidote goes with what social issue very well, and they never listen like a good and smart person does. Many of the classes you take there really aren't set up for learning anything at all, and that's where there's a problem. You're frequently harassed by some people there, and that's where it gets bad. You try to tell those people about how stuff really annoys you and the alternative you have for it, but all they do is disregard you and play around with you even more. They continue to assume that you'll get over that annoying situation after you've clearly told them that no such thing will ever happen. That's where you'll have to report it to the nearest police officer. Such places need to be tracked by the FBI so that they'll easily know when their behavior is wrong. Turning a person away from singing an alternate song from the traditional birthday song is called copyright harassment. You'll never get enough classes finished while you're in that program either. They'll make you take a class over another one or an activity day leading to graduating only half educated. Even a person with developmental delays deserves as much education as everybody else. They might even make you take a class twice in spite of you passing it, which is very unfair. They do progress learning in levels not scheduled along with the school year as a way to train you. The only way a student can ever learn about level promotion at times that are not in public schooling is through practicing with searching for prime numbers over and over again. Filling up a chart of prime numbers shows how promoting works, and as you change to the next hundreds digit over and over again. A staff member you knew as friendly for a long time might have changed when they got accepted to that kind of school program. The change might be towards bad or bossy or consistently suspicious with some students. You'd notice it and start to feel uncomfortable being there in the class. You'll try to skip that class for your own good and safety, but the other staff won't approve of it in spite of your danger situation. They might make you make up for skipping the class even when you really don't need it. A lot of times such teachers will practice being responsible as a way to train you to do so without realizing the real problem. Part of it revolves around making you go hungry or missing out on something as a way to get you to remember what you need for food or participation in activities. Part of it revolves around practice in remembering with speech skits as though something like that is even possible. Part of it revolves around such an evil spectating teacher having you stay with him or her outside of your time available to do so. And part of it revolves around making up new time for skipping that unavailable time that you have. Some of them accuse you of failing to follow a direction that you don't need to follow and try to give you a lesson on it through keeping you after class to practice envisioning a stubborn and confused person like you're really that stupid. None of this can remedy anybody's hardness in being responsible because of the recession set up in their genetic system. Everybody's system is different, and most of them don't revolve around any of these ideas to remedy the recession in their ability to be responsible. Any person who says no to decisions has the right of way at all times. Disregarding and persisting them gives them the right to report harassing them to the nearest police department. Many times in a situation that unexpectedly became a wait, they'll just make you wait there with wasting time and making the activity go outside of the school schedule. All that does is set up that student to look responsible for the lateness and for that activity leader's forgetfulness. You're practically holding that student personally responsible for somebody else's hardness in remembering and recessive ability to be responsible, just like how it went down in the Holocaust. fast. You're not training them how to wait at all. Sometimes a teacher friend of yours will talk you into having a friendship with one of their children who's got a disability that's non-communicable, or if they function like a 2-year-old. It's not a very smart thing to do because you're there in an arduous situation with their slow acknowledgement. They're frequently stubborn and it burns out your patience to where you can't think straight anymore. It eventually gets to the point of making an aggressive reaction which sends you to the courts to sign a written agreement for a restraining order. You end up with a police record, child abuse, and you're under lots of restrictions, all because some foolish teacher friend of yours talked you into a very arduous friendship. A lot of times they'll make you accept something that you don't deserve as a way to train you how to accept somebody who doesn't want to be around you for no reason. They think that that's the way to train a person on how to respect a person who doesn't like to talk about certain subjects. Nobody ever refuses to respect what's personal except for teasing a person about it. It's just a matter of how well you were taught about what's personal through a teaching procedure. Any person you put under that kind of authoritarian control reserves the right to disobey you. This means that they're not required to sign any written agreements with you if you say that they have to. This is especially true if you're having them do it to stay out of a school building that they graduated from where they have lots of friends. You're just imprisoning that good student. A program like this frequently keeps you from seeing your friends and relatives without proof that you're in school suspension, which is the only time it's acceptable to hold them in custody. You can't get expelled from school or placed into a reform school or even be placed into just a behavioral class unless it was told so in a court of law, because they have the proof needed to decide that and nobody else does. A program like that places you into an environment full of other students who don't know any better, and it gets chaotic. The environment is just grounds for getting into confrontational fights with a student who doesn't know any better and place you on the verge of getting expelled from school with a record talking about student-to-student abuse. They even try to place you into learning how to get along with some students who have non-communicable disabilities. You'd never be able to learn how to get along with those kinds of people unless they're equipped with an Exelon device to help to back up the damage in their brain. It's just grounds for confrontational behavior and causing them to become helpless. That would get you expelled from school with a record talking about abuse with both students and people with disability. They'll try to train you how to adapt to different supervisors, not knowing that no such training is possible. The majority of the different supervisors never act in an adaptable manner. It happens just so when some of them act confused with you and don't even try to acknowledge their attitude like they need to. Some of them talk about the bad things you do in front of the class like you're really a problem. Some of them punish you at a lower level than everybody else. Some of them show evil at you without giving you a chance to correct the mistake in what you said. Some of them make you listen to directions like a child just because of some directions that you're not good at following. Some of them treat you like children just to make you feel sorry for yourself. When you try to train a person how to adapt to different supervisors, you're really just holding that student trainee responsible for the absence of their original supervisor, like it's all that student's or trainee's fault. A lot of them get defensive as a way to protect their youth. Besides, every time you get a substitute teacher in school and a babysitter at home, except for if you're primarily behaving wrong, you're adapting to different supervisors already. Employment isn't the point when adapting different supervisors at all. They set up your IEP to a certain plan in order to get to go to a career center class and never keep their promise. Even after so many tries, they'll just keep to the plan and never cancel it. If they do, they never tell you, and they won't even allow you to ask about the cancellation. If they take you off the job training over a problem with a badly behaving substitute supervisor, they're just blaming it on you without thinking about their behavior. If they tell you that you quit your job when they really took you off training, they're just denying their behavior. If they called off your deal to a career center class because of how they think you're acting on the job training, they'll never tell you like they need to. Some of them entice you into a school activity that's bad for you to make you go if you're planning on skipping it because it's an unsafe kind of activity. Such behavior is illegal and needs to be reported to the nearest police department as soon as possible. Some of them will deny you from joining every activity if you refuse to show up for the litter cleanup or the car wash without realizing how bad their behavior is when you're there. They never think about how bad they're talking to helpers and can't admit that they're wrong. Nobody deserves to be left hungry over avoiding being somewhere where a person they're helping is being unkind. If the substitute leader is trying to make you look responsible for the original leader's absence with lateness and getting started with things, you have the right to not participate at your own say-so. Some of them will forget that you've already been JTPA trained at a certain job site and will send you there twice. That's never a good idea, if you know what I mean. Sometimes if you take a college class during the time you're still in public schooling, they'd have you do it at an inconvenient time outside of your original plan. Whenever they do, they're just extorting you like you really don't deserve to be adequately educated and employed at all. Sometimes whenever you're employed somewhere and your hours are limited and not changed, such a program will take advantage of you if you're not needed at that job site. They totally deny that you have your own life to live that doesn't involve them and you're in where you can't escape from them. If you're invited to play some music for their events coming up, if you happen to be a music student, they probably won't try hard enough to be aware of spectating teachers trying to take your activity away just because of some problems that you have that you can't easily manage. The people inviting you need to get a court order to make sure that no such spectating teacher will be allowed to steal back from what you've been invited to, just in case something wrong happens that was hard of preventing. After all, the courts have authority over the teachers and the principals and the superintendent. Sometimes in the event of a problem with a student who has annoying issues and you're hard of ignoring or tolerating and you're not able to handle it right, such teachers will put you to an assignment that's impossible to do. They even put you on denial from an activity if you refuse the assignment, as though it was even possible when they know that it isn't. You have the right of way to leave without telling them where you're going if they hold you to that assignment, especially if you're about to go on a wonderful trip that you won't get another chance to. Such a program never listens to what the parents and legal guardians tell the teachers and principal when they tell them. In those programs, law trouble has doubled every year since they've been going on. Police reports have tripled. They never listen to how to teach students, and they never comply with neurophysiology facts. It's not just a mistake, it's just plain old bad news. I would die a happy person if I could prove that to you. You should know that all you read about in this letter isn't complying with genetic facts and neurophysiology preparing procedures. If a student doesn't have what he or she needs to be able to develop at an adequate speed, then there's no reason for them to stay in public schooling longer than grade 12. There's nothing the teachers can do about it other than just provide good social life for them. You can't remedy a developmental delay outside of the neurophysiology field because those issues can only be fixed through artificial ones being programmed into them with a computer. The neurophysiology process person with a delay in their development helps to ensure that all of the referee and problems teaching them are out of the way. You can still extend public schooling from grade 12 to grade 16, but not for making up for a delay in somebody's development. The extension of public schooling makes it easier to get a job through half a day of job training in 5 semesters plus some JTPA in the summertime. It also helps you to attend human growth and development classes through each semester for 4 of them for half a day. It gives you a whole semester of social awareness, another for first aid, another for wilderness studies, and another for employability. The activities on Fridays of the school year go on for the whole semester with 2 each day, 1 in the morning and 1 in the afternoon. This kind of schooling is called Junior Job Training Corps. So you see, you can't adjust schooling to a developmental delay in a student except if they're currently undergoing neurophysiology or a brain replacement procedure. If you're not doing it for either of those procedures, then you're not developing them, and that's the truth.